right, and we're back with our 7th episode of the Desert Shift. Appreciate you guys watching. We are back with a familiar friend here, the king of content himself, pitching trainer here, Grayson Liebhardt. Grayson Liebhardt, thank you very much for being on again. I troll you, king of content, because you just kick my butt when it comes to being consistent on that thing. So kudos to you. How you been? How's everything been going the last, I don't know, what it's been like 3-4 weeks probably?
Yeah, I've been doing good, hanging in there, staying
Nice.
busy, learning.
Yeah. Damn right. You've been teaching me stuff along the way as well, so we can always appreciate that. Forewarning, we were just talking about this. We have some crazy content systems now. So if there is anything that just goes bananas, just know that we're safe. It's probably somebody just hitting a PR, because when you hit a PR here, it's like a small parade. There's air horns, there's lights flashing, there's all sorts of stuff. So if it kind of goes nuts, I'm sure somebody will hit a PR at some point, or if the weight room is just popping because we're in the middle of college summer, we're just going to keep rolling. Like we heard it, we acknowledge it, and we're going to be in our little bubble here. So anyway, I brought some topics today because I feel like sometimes first of all, these are some really, really sick topics I really want to dive into with you. But I feel like sometimes the last one we kind of got off on a little bit of too many tangents, and I want to make sure it's a little more structured. So, and I want people to be able to take away some really positive things and be able to apply it to their training. So, the first thing that I kind of wanted to get into with you was I wrote all these hooks for mine, by the way. Okay. So mine is working with players and breaking the mold of like giving them the autonomy to kind of figure things out, but also like maintaining some sort of structure. So kind of what does that mean to you when you think about getting a player some autonomy? Like, what does that mean to you? How do you usually approach that? What do you feel like is a positive thing or a negative thing, and things to look out for?
What that means to me, self autonomy for the players is going to be really crucial, because obviously as coaches, we're not always going to be there. Mm-hmm. It's really easy not easy, but it's one thing to get a guy better in gym and have him perform at a high level in gym, rather than having him actually execute what you accomplished in the gym in a game setting.
For sure.
Two very different things. There's a lot of guys that become like gym rats and just, are really good in gym and execute, and are there and are performing well, and the coach is almost there to hold their hand. Yeah. But what happens when a player steps onto the field? There's no coach. He's on the mound on that island by himself.
For real.
So I think that's really what autonomy means to me in this setting. And I think it's just really important to prepare players for those settings and actually have tools that they can use where they're like, okay, I'm struggling to throw strikes right now. Yes, Daulton told me to do this. What brings me back to normal? Them being able to do that themselves without having someone there to tell them is huge.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a lot of like not self-exploration, but self-growth in some type of way of like, you're right. You can't take 15 mound visits because you just threw 5 straight balls. Like, for sure, you're going to have to figure it out at some point. I like that answer. I think that's a really solid way of looking at it. Like, I need to prepare you for, and we've spoken about this a lot on this podcast specifically, but like in general is like, you need to be able to prepare yourself with like really intense training sessions, whether that's making it command focus, pitch design focus, and making sure that like, you're not just like a stuff plus monster, right? In the gym. I don't really care if you throw 130 stuff plus sweeper. If in the game, it's never near the zone and then it goes to a shitty sweeper, right? Like, it's just not really going to play. That's called just being like a gym rat, like you said. Sure. So I think one of the big things that I took away from what you just said right there is just like, there is a lot of value in like going into games and like basically just stress testing the fact that like I trained all these qualities. Like, can I do them in a game? What you don't want to have happen is be 93 to 95 in gym, and then you go to a game and you're 88 to 90. Like, clearly there's some kind of disconnect. You got really good at training. You didn't really get good at the thing that you were training for, which is ultimately the game. Autonomy to me kind of just means I've taken a different approach over the last couple weeks of like, I told we obviously with college summer coming up and a lot more assessments. I tell guys a lot, I'm working with you. I don't work for you. Yeah. I don't want it to be a one-sided, like I'm talking at you. I want to talk with you. So being able to help guys like understand, I had a bullpen this morning, guys missing arm side. And I go, why do you think that is? I don't know. Okay, well, we need to figure out why the fuck that's happening, right? For sure. It doesn't really do us much good to just be like, I'm missing arm side. I'm fucking pissed. This is stupid. I suck. It's like, great. Ask yourself why, way more than we currently do, because then at that point you can remember like being like, I just threw a ball and I hit a right-handed hitter with a sweeper. What is my typical, like, why does that usually happen? Okay, it means I'm probably, for the guy today, was like moving his center of mass backwards instead of to his target. So he's always moving away from his arm, basically.
For sure.
Show him a quick video and he's like, which kudos, nailed it. I asked you this too. Athlete was just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't really help me. Yeah, I asked you, I was like, what do you see? And I was like, center of gravity is just like totally moving backwards. You just go, yeah, like, where are you going?
Yeah.
Like, you're just moving the wrong way, man. You're trying to go to home plate.
Yeah.
So I think equipping your athletes with the ability to like digest their own stuff and like analyze what they're doing is super, super beneficial.
For sure. And we talk about it all the time. We can give the athlete the answer and it might get the job done at a certain time. But I think the best way, and I've learned this a lot from you, is the best way to approach coaching these athletes, especially when they're struggling, is just ask them as many questions as possible. And oftentimes they will give you the answer or find the answer for themselves. And with that process, it becomes much easier for the athletes to solve those problems on their own when you're not there as well. So I think it's just really important to get the athlete thinking and make it a conversation rather than you just talking to the athlete saying, you're not getting enough hip shoulder separation. Like, this is bad. You need to fix this.
Yeah.
You want the athlete to actually understand why, understand the process, and understand how to solve those problems. Because really, pitching is problem solving. You're going to get into tough situations.
Ooh.
And it's not going to be easy. And there are going to be situations that you've never encountered that you need to solve the problem.
Dude, I like that. It is basically like it's problem solving. It's like a game of chess, really. You're just trying to figure out like why, you're trying to get X equals Y, X equals 1, right? If you can't figure that out, like, you need to be able to understand and like break down the equation to its simplest form of like, okay, am I doing this little thing? Especially in training, like, it's really easy to just like call it a training day. Do you even understand the drills that you're doing?
Yeah.
What are they actually supposed to help you with? So you get all this mocap data, right? And the way that I've been approaching it with my assessments now is like, yes, getting all the data is cool. You go through all the metrics and whatnot. It's awesome. It's obviously really, really valuable. However, I want to make sure when I'm done, like, if you haven't noticed, my meetings have been going like hour and a half, dude, 2 hours. Because at the end of the day, I want this guy to understand. Like you said, at some point, I can't hold your hand. Like, there's a guy in here that's going to be leaving for the draft league. I need him to realize, like, I'm not going to be there when you go to the draft league. You're going to have to just get thrown into the fire from your coaching staff that may or may not know what's going on to the same degree, right? Maybe not. But at the end of the day, like, a more educated athlete and a guy that's more knowledgeable about himself is ultimately going to be able to help himself way better than a guy that just like, well, coach told me to do step backs. I don't really know why. And I don't know what they're supposed to do, but I'm going to do them.
For sure.
That to me, like, isn't really development. That's not growth. Like, step one for me now is like, okay, you got all this information. How does it tie into making you a better player? And how do you interpret this? So when we have conversation, again, it's not me talking at you. It's talking with you. I can understand your thought process more.
Absolutely. And there's a couple different avenues I can go with that. But first thing was like, with these guys, one, they're a puzzle. Like, you can get the base answer from like a biomech report and see like, okay, what's the glaring problem? But it's so much deeper than that. You have to actually dive into it and see, okay, maybe he's lacking hip shoulder separation, but why? Like, what actually causes that at a root level? So one, finding that and with the athlete is really important. Two, communicating with the athlete so you actually understand what they mean by when they're saying things is also really important. And those conversations really help as well.
Kind of just like the context you mean of like, when you say hip shoulder separation, what do you like? Yeah, go into that a little bit. So I see where your head's at. Cause you say like, oh, what are they kind of like how they're interpreting what that move means?
For sure.
Okay. So you're basically just saying like how they digest that information.
Yeah. And you got to understand what they're trying to get at, because we work with these terms all the time and we can say these things that we're really familiar with, but these athletes may say one thing but mean another, and we may interpret that incorrectly, or they interpret what we say incorrectly. So that's one thing you got to be really careful of.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, I would agree. I think a lot of guys, it's like, you ask a guy like, how do you think hip shoulder separation gets created? And they just have like, well, get my hips open. It's like, yes, but no. There's a lot of nuance to it. So that's a nice, really good point right there, man. I like that. I think a lot of athletes should really, like, if you're a guy that's like really struggling with that and you're like, I'm just doing these drills, like, take the time to like ask your coach, like, why am I doing this drill? First of all, if your coach can't answer that question, that's a whole separate problem. You probably need to find a different coach if your coach can't give you an answer of like, why are you doing this specific thing? What is the desired outcome? If your coach doesn't know, how the how the hell are you supposed to know?
For sure.
Right? That'd be dog shit. So man, yeah, I guess this is one of those moments of like, I say it differently. We're at the same point because I was thinking like, I have a lot of guys that will, they'll interpret data of like, or interpret some kind of terminology. And it's the same thing. Like we're trying to say the same thing, but their words are just so different.
For
So
sure.
context is very, very, very important. Even subjective
crucial.
context for things like, when do you feel your best? When do you feel the worst? What hurts? What doesn't feel great? Why do those things happen? So
for sure.
Really cool. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of touch on with this is like, how do you help athletes? Like, what's an avenue that you help athletes like get in and out of those ruts? You're having a bad day, you're having a bad bullpen, you had a bad outing. What are some things that you typically help guys like, hey, let's kind of break it down. What's your process with that to help a guy?
I mean, I think this kind of goes back to the last subject, but it really all at a base level starts with communication. You have to understand what the athlete is thinking, what they're feeling, asking them questions like, do you feel like something's off? Do your mechanics feel proper? Is there something where, you threw really well this one bullpen? Do you feel like there's a difference between then and now? Maybe you threw a really good pitch. Is there a difference between that pitch and now? Do you feel something different? And then it becomes mental for me. So I'll ask guys what they're thinking, what their actual intent is. Sometimes it could be a confidence problem where they're like, yeah, I'm trying to throw the sweeper, but I don't believe in it. Right.
Yeah. I'm throwing it because my coach called it, but I really don't like it, or I don't think it's going to be great.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's something I kind of dive into. And then something that's also not touched on with a lot of pitchers is like having a pre-pitch routine is super important. So if you're kind of getting on the mound and going through the motions, you don't have like a process that you're going through. You're not going to execute. So that's really important. Is I've worked with a lot of guys where I'm like, okay, what's your pre-pitch routine? What are you thinking before you throw this pitch? And they like,
what are you talking about?
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So, and it kind of ties back into the confidence too, because one of the things I tell pretty much every one of my guys is before you throw this pitch, you need to think that this is the best pitch on earth and no one can touch it. You're going to throw it in the zone. No one's going to touch it. You're striking everyone out. It's going to be game over.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Cause like, that's a very old school mentality of, hey, the best pitch you can throw is the one with conviction.
Yep.
There's kind of some truth to that.
There's a lot of truth to it.
Right? It's like old school and new school set apart. I don't care. I think the best coaches are the guys that can blend the both of them together. It's not about just being a nerd behind a computer and just kind of like doing only data, only analytics, knowing all the numbers. If you can't connect with your athlete, like it's just not going to be worth a damn. So you kind of have to be a little middle of the road. But yeah, having a pre-pitch routine, man. I'm thinking back to it like when I used to pitch. Like I think that was maybe something that I could have done a little bit better at as an athlete. I don't really think I think I was just like really good at like getting the ball back and just being like, I'm going to focus on it. But really, did I ever like walk through how a certain pitch was going to play based off of earlier in the at bat? Did I ever walk through like, oh, I can feel something within my delivery from throw to throw? And I guess that's what really separates like really high level pitchers from like maybe like a mid-range guy or a 7 out of 10 guy instead of a 10 out of 10 big league guy. Is like those guys can make, we hear it all the time, make adjustments from pitch to pitch, at bat to at bat. That's what really separates guys that like, you get one gets away from you, sure, but you're right back where you need to be on the next pitch. High school guy, maybe a lower level athlete, younger kid might have a tough time of being able to do that. But if you can keep all the process pretty similar, you're eliminating some of the variables of like, maybe you just weren't focused. You were like Clark in the outfield with the butterfly. Yeah. He's like chasing it like in bench warmer. Like you got to fucking focus, man. Yeah. So yeah, that's like, give me like an example of like a pre-pitch routine. Did you have one when you played?
I mean, no, I wasn't very good. And there were a lot of things I wish I did differently in my career, this being one of them. But like one basic one is just like, okay, run through the at bat, right? So you're thinking, what just happened in that last pitch?
Okay.
Okay, maybe you threw a slider. He swung at it in the dirt.
Yeah.
He was super early. Yep. If you're thinking fastball after that, what are you thinking?
That's like, buffoonery.
Yeah. If this guy's way out in front, he's sitting heater.
Yeah.
And then you give him what he wants. That's a problem.
That's not good.
You kind of have those thoughts and you learn those things. You're like, okay, maybe I shouldn't throw that.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the slider, maybe more in the dirt, see if he goes after it again. So really understanding where you are in the situation first is key. And then, get your sign. Take the rubber. I always tell my guys, really big, deep breath. Come set. This is the best pitch on earth. And you're delivering the best pitch. Yeah. So
nice. It's relatively simple.
Yeah.
And that's really not that like complicated.
Yeah, and that's the big thing too, is like keeping it simple is really important, because then it kind of gets to a point, if you have all these steps, you're like, okay, then it's just a checklist that you feel like you got to check off.
You're more focused on that than you actually are even the pitch that you're about to throw.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so keeping it basic and simple makes it easy for the pitcher. You're not thinking too much, and it also gives them a little bit of familiarity. So let's say they're in a situation where they're like, this is just a ton of pressure. I've never been here before. What do I do? I'm freaking out. But then they can go back to that pre-pitch routine. It's like their North Star that like they can rely on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Always going to be there. I have something consistent.
Yeah. And it could be like, maybe you think of your happy place. Maybe that's in gym.
Oh my God. That just made me think of Happy Gilmore when he's putting, bro.
Yeah.
Go to your happy place.
Exactly. Like, you're going to your happy place. Okay, I'm on that mocap mound with Daulton Berry behind me telling me to throw this ball as hard as I can through that glove.
That's
so
right.
You have that little bit of familiarity that you can rely on when, on the mound. It can be scary. You're all alone. It feels like you're on an island.
Especially when you're not confident in yourself, or you're struggling. Like, you just are searching for ways to like figure it out. And it's like, if you're just up there without, I know this happened to me, is like sometimes the game, like I think it happens to a lot of guys, really, like when you're struggling, it's just like the snowball effect.
Yeah.
You don't have anything that's just going to like put you back down to like, instead of the ball continuing to roll and just amassing, it's like, let me just like get rid of that ball. Like that at bat's over, right? I can start with this little tiny snowball again, and it's 5 ounces, so it's safer, all that stuff. We weighed it out. But that snowball is small again. Like, I'm starting off with a new at bat. There's no reason to continue to lug the massive other snowball that doesn't have anything to do with this at bat.
For sure.
So being able to like get back to our North Star, I like that. Being able to get back to our North Star and like have like a home base, I guess, is really, really valuable for guys. And I think hitting on like starting with the breath.
Yeah.
Really important, because you'll see guys like, I know I've watched some guys, like I even watch back at myself sometimes when I would throw, and it's like, you can tell a guy that's confident, nothing really phases him. And then you look at him, and like when times are tough, or like you just give up a bomb, or you're like walk single double.
Yeah.
It's like that guy is gasping for air. You like UFC, right? Yeah. I think me and you are the UFC homies. They look like McGregor in the fifth, dude.
Yeah.
Just done. They're smoked, right?
Oh,
instead of Nate Diaz in the fifth, where that dude's just like, I have not been phased by any of this. I have prepared for this.
It's like, do you want to be Marab, or do you want to be the fatty that has no cardio and is just like out of breath, just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, techniques going out of the room, throwing shit.
Or you can be Marab, who's throwing takedowns up until the fifth round, and looks like he's fresh.
I can't stand his fights, dude. He sucks.
He's just such a good example.
I know, but like, do you like him as a fighter? Yes, he's good technically. I'll give him that. But like, I'm more of the showman. I like the showman style. O'Malley, like, I love O'Malley. Like, yes, dude. By the time, because it was him and Marab, right? That Marab slapped him around. Dude, he was done in like the second round, I think. And it was embarrassing to watch him. Like, damn, if he doesn't finish him within the first 2 rounds, this fight's over. Like, if it gets to the fifth round, it's toast. Like, he's got no stamina.
And think about fighting Marab, okay? Like, think about, like, you're the other guy and you're seeing this guy. Oh my God, it's the fourth round and he looks like he just walked into the octagon.
Yeah.
Now you take that from a pitching standpoint. It's like, okay, this pitcher on the mound is in the 6th inning. He's throwing 80-something pitches and he's dominating us. And he looks like he just came out for the first pitch.
Yeah, and if you're a hitter, subtle, still on your ass.
If you're a hitter and you see that, you're like, I don't have a chance.
Yeah,
you know, I'm cooked. Like, this guy is dominating. He struck me out twice today, and he looks like he's still brand new, fresh.
Yeah,
like, I am not touching.
Yeah, I'm probably headed towards the golden sombrero.
Yeah,
this is bad. Yeah, I think that's a good point too. Is just like not having not like wearing like, just because you miss a pitch, or just because you gave up a single, like, or let's just say you missed a pitch, like you yank a slider. It's like, that hitter doesn't know that you didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
Unless it's an egregious miss, right? But like, still use it to your advantage. Like, guy has no idea if you meant to throw one up and into him. He has no clue. Use it to your advantage. Why not? Don't make it a dead giveaway that like you're tired, you're exhausted, you're on the ropes. The game does not happen until I deliver the ball. That's a pretty powerful thing when you're like, I am the one in control. I am the one in power. So I think it, like, you as a pitcher, you're attacking hitters, not vice versa.
And that's what I was kind of going to touch on, is pitching is offense. If you think of it as like being defense, you are
probably screwed.
Like, it's going to be tough. When you think like, okay, I'm going to dominate these hitters. I think like a thought we brought up a couple weeks ago when our old friend was back was, I'm going to break this guy's bat with every single pitch. Yeah. It's like, I'm that good. He's not touching it. He's cooked. So like, when you think you're on offense as a pitcher, things tend to go a lot more smoothly.
God, I'm such a gamer. Like I think about Rocket League in this moment. Don't troll me on this one. But I think about like Rocket League. Like if you play offense slowly, so like pitching, if you're just like timid and kind of, you're gonna get your shit ran. You're not gonna get to a high level in that game.
You're done.
But if you play like you want to get off of defense, shove it down somebody's throat as a pitcher and go after somebody. Like challenge them. Like what? It's a game of failure. Even if they get on 4 out of 10 times, they're still failing 6 out of the other. 6 out of the other 10. It's ridiculous. That's great odds. I mean, that I'm taking that all day. And like, let's be realistic. If you're a guy that like throws pretty hard, has decent shit, and you can mix stuff for a strike, 3 out of 10 times, that means 7 out of 10 times you're still going to succeed, even if you don't make the best pitch. Hitting is ridiculously hard.
For sure. And think about what it does for your own team, right? It's like if you look like you're dominating and no one's going to touch you and you are getting your team back into the dugout to go hit
it's got to feel
quickly.
Good.
Dude, those hitters are amped up. It is such a big difference for the guys in the field. Like if they're sitting out there for long innings, you're throwing a lot of balls, guys are getting on.
Yeah.
It is draining for them too. It's a whole, like everything goes together. It's a whole environment that you're creating.
The tempo, the environment of the game, just like the literal speed of the game is really like at a snail's pace when you're like ball 1, strike 1, ball 2, ball 3, and strike, foul ball.
It's so demoralizing for hitters
annoying.
too.
God, I can remember those days of just like when it was me out there. Like, fuck, it's just got infielders on their heels now. They're not feeling confident. They don't feel confidence in me. I don't know why, but I could always feel that as a pitcher if I was struggling. I could feel like my shortstop, my second baseman, just like looking over at each other like, here we go again. I'm like, damn it. But like you said, getting back to a breath, having a pre-pitch routine can be really, really helpful.
For sure.
Last note on this that I really like to have guys do, and I think I've spoken and touched on this on the past, is like just journaling about it. I can't really like emphasize this enough. Is just like, this is a regret for sure that I had in my career, was just like not writing my outings down.
Yeah.
What led to like, what did I feed? I talk about this a lot now in gym, is like, I'm feeding the inputs. What did I feed myself? I know I have to start on Friday. What did I do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday? What was my sleep like? My nutrition? What did I eat?
Yeah.
What did I do? Was I stressed out? Was I in school? Was I working a lot? Was I even mentally in a position to go attack the game at my best? If I can't look back and say that, then like I need to adjust my routine. I need to adjust what I'm currently doing. And then for a coach, like I can't tell you how many times after a game we'll hit a guy up and it's like, hey, what out there? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you got to give me something, man. We got to work on this, because clearly we don't want to go out there and walk guys, give up home runs, whatever it may be. We need to develop some kind of plan that is a strategy, basically, of working together to get you to that end goal. It can't just be, I struggled.
Yeah.
That's not good enough. You have to identify why you struggled.
For sure.
And being able to write that down in self-reflection, but then also having, remote coaching. This is where I think we do a phenomenal job, is like reaching out with your remote coach and having another set of eyes. I know I review, you laugh at me because I won't ever watch my guys throw, but like, I just can't do it. I just get superstitious about it. I let them kind of throw and then I'll watch the replays. I'll watch and I'll take notes on a guy's throwing. And I'm just like, why did you go cutter there? I don't know. That's not good enough.
Yeah.
I need to know why you felt that way. Yeah. And I want to work on that, because if the sweeper or the changeup is the better pitch, we need to work together to see what the disconnect is. If you just had confidence, so be it. That's the best answer you can give me. You just believed in the pitch. Yep. So be it. But otherwise, like I need to know your process, and maybe we can shift the lens a little bit or just work together to get to a better outcome.
Yeah. And it's impossible to make adjustments if you don't have information. Like if you don't know what led to a bad outing or even a good outing, how are you going to get back to that good outing, and how are you going to make adjustments after the bad outing?
Dude,
if you
sure.
have no idea what you were doing or don't know why that happened, you're just as lost as you were going into the game. Like you have nothing after that game, and it sucks because you just lost, and you're supposed to learn from that. If you don't know what happened or know what led up to that, how are you going to get better?
Shout out MJ. I never lost. I learned how to not win.
Exactly.
So really, really cool. So if you're a guy that you're just like struggling, you're out there and you're just kind of going through ruts, right? Or you just maybe don't have you have really, really great games. You have really, really poor games, and you're just kind of like, what is the difference? I don't feel any difference subjectively, on the outside. Write some stuff down, man. Be able to talk to your mom, maybe your dad, maybe talk to a coach, talk to a friend about it, and just be like, man, like run it through yourself and just be like, man, what can I do to make this more consistent when I am successful? Identify the things that are lacking, talk to a coach about it, and really run through it and develop a plan and a strategy for that, because it's otherwise you're just basically throwing darts at a board with your eyes closed. You might hit the bullseye every once in a while, sure. Other times, probably not.
Yeah.
You want to limit your chances of not hitting the bullseye as much as you possibly can.
For sure. And really it's like that saying that everyone says, like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome result. And so that kind of like reminds me of a quote. One of my good buddies that might watch this, Tyler, if you're watching, nothing changes if nothing changes. Like, there's something so real about that. Like, you can apply that to all aspects of life, but how do you expect something to change if you don't change something about the situation?
Wow, that's a good one. If nothing changes, if nothing changes.
Yeah, nothing changes if nothing changes.
It sounds funny, but it is very true when you really break it down.
If you're trying to diet and lose weight and you don't change your diet, you're not going to
What do you expect to have happen?
Nothing's going to happen.
That's funny. So damn, really, really great points there. If you're a struggling pitcher, watch that like little clip back and reference that. I think that's a very valuable piece for some of the homies out there.
For sure.
So getting into this next point, I wrote this one down because I think that we can kind of attack this as both coaches and as when you were playing. What was a turning point in your development that kind of changed everything or changed your mindset in something? So did you feel like there was anything, like any person or any distinct moment that you felt like was a turning point in your career of being like, wow, I really needed to make a change, whether that was mentally, physically, or just the way that you approach training in general? Have you felt like there's anything that stood out to you?
Yeah, for me, it's not so much as an athlete, but as a coach, kind of just going through my career. So when I was at Washington State, I was working for the baseball team there. I didn't have much responsibility. I was doing like a lot of the scouting reports, helping out with those, running video for bullpens, running Rapsodo. Didn't have a TrackMan.
Shout out.
No comment. And then running TrackMan, like the stadium unit for scrimmages. And I remember just my second year there, I was sitting with my dad and I was just thinking about it. I was like, they don't even care if I come to this game. Don't get me wrong. Great opportunity. Got so much out of that program. But it was like, I remember sitting there and realizing like I had so much more to offer. I didn't even have access to data and I could have done so much more. And then I realized like, there's nothing that's going to happen if I don't make a change at some point. Like I knew I had a lot of really big goals in baseball that I wanted to achieve. And I was like, if I stay here, I'm probably not going to achieve those goals and I'm not going to get the responsibility that I kind of need to grow. So when I decided to transfer to Grand Canyon, that was probably my biggest like life-changing event that I think about and go back to. My dad and I talk about it all the time. It's if I never made that change, I'm probably still there going probably fifth year of school.
What if?
Yeah, getting some degree that I don't like. But here I am now having my dream internship at the company that I followed for years. And that's because I took a chance, transferred to Grand Canyon, worked for the team there under Nathan Bannister.
Just phenomenal coach, by the way. Shout out. I thought he had some fantastic takes on the very minimal conversations that I've had with him. For sure. That's really cool.
He knows his stuff. And it's just, that was a really good opportunity and I just needed to make a change. And that's what led to me being here.
Wow. So it's just like it's almost like a confidence and self-belief thing.
Yeah. You got to bet on yourself every once in a while. Because if I didn't do that and I just kind of accepted my fate as just a little assistant at this program, not doing much, then who knows where I'd be right now.
Hey, I'm glad you made that because that led me to meeting you and all the good conversation and friendship that we have. So I can definitely appreciate that. But yes, a lot of people I feel like struggle with that of like feeling like they're stuck. They're not where they want to be. And they just kind of accept it. It's really easy to just kind of like roll through the days and being like, I'm just talking like as a person of like, I don't know, let's just say you want to make more money. Somewhere, right? Everybody wants to make more money. You got to be willing to do something about that shit. You can't just sit on the sidelines and say and bitch and complain and just be like, I want to make more money. What do you do to deserve more money? What are you doing every day to even get to that point? You want to get a job in baseball? Fucking A. Are you doing content? Are you researching things? If you apply to an internship like this, for example, and you don't have any experience, your shit gets thrown out the window. Why? Because you haven't there's so many free resources out there for people. That's like you kind of have to put your best foot forward and just try and fail. Like honestly,
so big.
I mean, I think Kyle's talked about that before. He's like,
Bodie talks about it all the
don't,
time.
yeah, he's like, I actually want to see, I think it was like one of his, like an internship thing. It was just like, show me your failures.
Yeah.
I don't care about all the things that you've just succeeded in. Those are, yes, they're great to see, sure. I want to see times that you failed. What was your process when you failed? Did you actually try, or did you just like try and figure this thing with coding out one time and you gave it an hour chance and then you threw it away?
Right.
Or did you stay for 6 months trying to figure it out, and at some point you're just like technical ability was kind of just not there anymore, and you were just like, I spent 6 months trying to do this and I couldn't figure it out. At least that individual tried.
Yeah.
So that's really cool, man.
That kind of reminds me of a blog I read recently that Thomas Bentley wrote. I don't know if you
you
reading
posted
it.
Yeah,
but,
I gotta read it.
It was really cool, just kind of seeing his whole process from being a guy that was going to pitch in college to getting hurt to applying to Driveline and taking these chances with his program in Michigan and just trying to learn how to code by himself. And one thing he talked about that really, hit home with me was you're not going to succeed on your first try. It's not going to happen.
Rarely.
Like we're also talking about a game where if you're a hitter and you succeed 3 out of 10 times, that's really good.
Yeah.
So one, that's like the environment, but two, it's, you got to be willing to fail. Like that has to be something that you're okay with and that is going to happen, because it will happen. And you just got to be able to learn from it.
Yeah. I think that's something that I can appreciate about you is like when you came in, a lot of people like end up just like kind of learning, right? I think we like the R&D podcast has touched on this. It's like you don't want to learn. You just want to know.
Mm-hmm.
You were so open-minded to being like, I am going to learn this. A lot of people just kind of come in, or in life, are just like, I just kind of want to know. Just tell me the info. Tell me what I need to know. I feel like you did a phenomenal job, and something I can really appreciate was like you always asking me why. You always asking Gargus like, hey, why? Like, why do we do it this way?
Yeah.
You're a fresh set of eyes, man. You have a whole different perspective that I've been working here for almost a year and year and a half, 2 years, something like that. Maybe I'm just like used to seeing something that's like inefficient. And you walk in and you're like, why? Why do we do it this way? Your willingness to like question things and learn and put your best foot forward. And yes, can we both say that we failed as coaches? Absolutely. 100 times, I'm sure. But the great news is I know that both you and I can look back 3 months ago and be like, damn, we've probably changed quite a bit in the last 3 months. And I know that you have for sure. So that's a really cool process, I guess, of like when you have an internship that's 6 months, a year long, you can turn around and be like, damn, I'm a way different dude, a way different coach. I look at things differently. And that's really the goal, is to just continue to push yourself to be a better coach and a better person.
For sure. And we talk about it all the time. If you can't look back and say like, oh, I messed up with that, or I didn't, give the athlete the best coaching as I could now, there's probably something you're doing wrong if you can't look back and see something that you did wrong.
That is a tough pill to swallow. I struggle with that, because I feel I wear every athlete that trains here on my sleeve. I want those guys to succeed so bad, because I put in, it's not even about my time and effort. I feel like my guys just deserve that. If you give me 100% of your time and effort and energy, I'm going to give it right back and then some.
For sure.
Those guys are trying their ass off. It's my job and my responsibility to be the most equipped coach that I can possibly be. Otherwise, I am simply doing a disservice to my athletes.
For sure.
And so, just like, I think being around people like, me and you, Gargus, Max, Anthony, all of us are just like constantly pushing each other to be better coaches. And that's a really fun environment to be a part of. So, the one thing I think that changed for me was being able to take training and performance in training as this thing in this box, and performance in the game in a totally different box. I do not want you to be really good at training. And we talked about this a little earlier, but I think that's something that really opened my mind about coaching. Was just like, I was obsessed within my first year of coaching. I remember just like everybody throwing a splitter or a sweeper, 140 grade, gross as hell. They go into a game and it's like, coach, I couldn't throw it for a strike. I'm like, but it was 18 inches of horizontal. I'm like, yeah. Before I was like, it'll be there, son. Just keep going now. You're going to get it. You know what I mean? You're going to get it at some point. It's like, no, my dumbass should have been like, well, shit. What did I do in training that either A, didn't successfully prepare this individual or this athlete for success in the game, or B, what can I do now that, like, it doesn't need to be 140 grade. It doesn't need to be 18 inches of horizontal. Maybe it's only 14, because 14 is 50% in zone, while 18 is 10% in zone.
Mm-hmm.
I'd make that trade. So I think this is something in the motor learning book club that was kind of touched on, is like, training is simply a means to an end. Training is just training. My goal is not to make people really, really good at training. My goal is to make you really good when the lights come on and you have to go perform.
For sure.
So it's don't fall in love. Like PRs and training are cool, but again, it only matters if it transfers to the game. If you go into your live at bat settings before you leave and it's not there, you need to look around and be like, what did I do? What do I need to do as an adjustment as a coach, as an athlete? Collaborate on that, work together on that, even have third opinions. I know I talk to you all the time about, what do you see with this guy? I'm as a coach, I'm struggling. I don't know. I'm not getting through to him with this. The football, dude, that was a great idea. I didn't think about that. I was like, why didn't I think about that? And sometimes it's in front of your face and you just don't see it. And I think just having you around and having other guys around that are going to help me with that, like, that's huge. So separating being really good in training and being really good in a game. I'm taking the dude that's really good in a game and throws 85 in the gym, but 92 in the game all damn day.
And this is like the big gripe that old school baseball, like the old heads and like the old guard has with the analytics and all the numbers and data-driven training, is people think that oftentimes us, like the nerds, are too worried about that. Which
I fully embrace being a nerd, but I don't mind. I fully love it. I don't care. I like it.
My background, I don't care. That's what I'm good with.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah, exactly. But there's something to that. Like, the biggest importance is performance in game. Like, yes, these expected numbers are good to look at. You can get a lot of insights from them. They can help you make decisions. But all in all, if a guy is preventing runs better than the other and his stuff grade is like, let's say 20 points below, who cares? Like, what we care about is getting outs, preventing runs. That's the only thing we care about.
Score more points than the other team.
Yep.
That's it. If you do that for 162 games and you do it every single time, you're probably going to win every freaking game. Why? Because you have more points. It's really simple, actually. Very simple game. So, just more runs, and eliminate them scoring runs. So, I think that's a really nice transition into this next question of, when was an athlete, this is why I brought it. When did an athlete teach you something?
Oh boy.
When did you feel like an athlete put you in a spot you were like, wow, I never thought about it like that? Or, damn, that's a totally different perspective that I didn't really consider before.
I'm going to bring up one of my favorite athletes that just left me for the summer. Still sad, but little Andrew.
Andrew Horn. Dude. Oh, the homie. Absolutely. You were so sad when he left, and he was such a good, from what you said, you thoroughly enjoyed working with him.
He's been one of my absolute favorite athletes to work with. I think
that is so
the hitting interns can attest to this too. He's not the only reason, but like, academy slots have been so fun because of him.
Really?
And just his passion for the game and just wanting to learn, and his joy every time he steps into the building.
It's awesome.
He had so many things going on outside of baseball at school. Like, he's worried about his grades, stressing about all this,
naturally,
these trips. And he's taught me a lot of things, but there's a few that I kind of want to touch on. One being, like, realize, like, stay present and enjoy where you're at.
Nice.
Enjoy the journey and, like, just make it fun. There's so many people that make training a job and make their job a job and just make it so unenjoyable. And they're like, ugh, I don't want to go to work today.
I have to go to throw today. I have to lift. Andrew Horn walks in. I get to go throw with Grayson.
I get to go throw. Coach is here. I'm fired up.
So much fun.
I get to request a song. We're going to play games. Like, that, just making things fun makes such a big difference, and it just can drive results so much. And also just keeping things simple. There's been so many times academy slots are at the end of the day. I'm tired. I've been working with high schoolers, college guys all day.
Yeah.
So I'm working with guys that can understand, like, a little bit more complex descriptions, cues. And with him, it's like, I just got to remember, like, he's been like, Coach, what do you mean? What are you saying right now?
Really?
Yes. And I'm like, Andrew, I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me. I need to keep things simple. And that's awesome. One thing that's really important is guys can find it really hard to learn if things aren't simple, especially with the youth guys. So that, and just keeping the main thing. If you're worrying about 10 different things at the same time, like I sometimes would with Andrew at the beginning when I was a young coach, not knowing as much as I do now, I'd be like, okay, we need to work on this and this. I'm like, dude, the kid's 10, 12, 14. We don't need to worry about all these different things. The thing we need to worry about is having fun, getting better overall, and just having a good time. Yeah.
What's the quote? Enjoy your baseball.
Enjoy your baseball.
Damn. Dude, that's really cool, man. Because it's really cool to hear, like, yeah, it's sometimes it's hard to work with younger athletes.
Yeah.
They you're gonna get a million different types of throws out of them. Their body coordination isn't there yet. They're, ultimately our job is to like train the things that matter for sure. Don't get me wrong. But the biggest thing is like we don't know if that 12-year-old's gonna be a big leaguer, if he's even gonna play high school baseball.
Yeah.
What he's going to remember is having such a great time with us as coaches.
Exactly.
And just enjoying the game. Like,
Yes.
I love baseball. I've loved baseball since my dad basically, like, out the womb had a whole baseball room for me before I was even born. Like, I knew I was going to love baseball just because I looked up to my dad so much. And I think that, like, when we lose that side of that, it's really like you lose sight of the passion for the game. And like that's really what should drive that. So that's really cool, man. I'm really happy that you brought that up because Andrew was one of those kids that, like, I don't think I ever saw him come in without a smile.
Yeah.
He's the one with the
backpack.
Dude.
He'd be ready to go with his iPad.
Yeah.
Dude.
Awesome.
I just would get fired up every time he walks into the building.
It's so sick.
It's like a breath of fresh air. He just comes in and it just brings life into the building. And it's same with all the youth guys, like the Hurleys. I could go on
Chuck,
and on about all of them.
I love those kids. It's so cool because like you said, they're almost like naive to the fact that like hitting is like throwing a baseball hard and like hitting a baseball hard is like ridiculously complicated and hard. They're just so naive. They're just like, I'm just gonna have fun and like just throw this thing and like see what happens.
And just hearing about like what they're worried about in life versus what we have going on, it's just like, dude, like you just got to keep it simple.
Yeah.
Life gets so much better. Like they're worried about grades, their girlfriend on the playground, not holding their hand or hugging them. It's just like,
that's hilarious.
I don't know. And it's something we talk about all the time. It can get really easy when you're working with super high level athletes to not give them as much attention, like the youth athletes, but they are the next generation, So I just take a lot of pride in those guys and putting in as much effort with them as I do with the college guys. And I think that's just really important.
Absolutely. You never know who's going to be a big leaguer. You never know who's going to call you just because they just want to say thanks.
Yeah.
As a coach, that means a lot to us when like I've had athletes that have gone out of their way to give me a call, shoot me a text, get me a DM on Instagram, something, and say, hey, you might not remember me, but I just want to say thank you for the one month that I worked with you. It meant a lot to me. And I was just like, wow, like sometimes as coaches, it's easily forgotten that like we do have an impact like that. Yeah. It might not even mean on the field performance. Sometimes it's like just being a good friend. Yeah. This isn't something that an athlete taught me necessarily, but it's something that I feel like has really helped me understand how to like approach my athletes in a much different light. So I think I've spoken about this before. My mom is a psychologist. Actually, she has a degree in like, it's called an LMFT, a licensed marriage and family therapist. So basically like she just helps people with a lot of their problems, right? Okay. Something that she really helped me and my girlfriend, Kelsey, was just like starting out our conversations with, do you want me to listen or do you want answers?
This is huge.
Sometimes listening to your athletes just get shit off their plate. Yes. Like when we have a gap year guy, man, like I remember being a gap year athlete in Washington and I lived with trainers. So I was very fortunate. I had some good friends and made some good relationships, but ultimately like I didn't have family and I'm a very family driven guy. And I'm very like, when you're close with me, like we are homies for a lot of, for a long time, hopefully. And I feel like when I started to ask myself that question and approach that way with my athletes of like, after a bad outing, hey man, do you want to talk about it? Do you want to go through it right now? Nah, man, not really. Okay. You come to me when you're ready. If you're ever ready. I do think, but then shedding light and being like, I do think there's value in us talking about this.
For sure.
And it might suck, but I think when you're just like spouting off answers, sometimes you don't need answers.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just like, man, I just had a shit day. I just had a bad day out there. I don't know why. I look back at my process. I felt good about it. I just got beat up. It happens. Yeah. Everybody fails. So I think when, my mom and my girlfriend kind of helping me with that really changed my perspective of like, sometimes it's just a person needing a friend.
Yeah.
Ruben Niebla did that on a Sunday night baseball game. They think the Padres are playing the Astros and they interviewed him as he was like walking the, the warning track. I was like, oh God, I'm not going to forget what this is, right? The warning track. And they were like holding, they have mics on and they were like, you talk about, the relationship, it seems like your players really buy into what you're preaching and like what you're trying to get them to do. They're just like, when they talk in the dugouts, dude, like there is no eye contact broken.
Mhm.
They're right fucking there. It's
Yeah.
the most awesome thing to see an athlete and a coach work together like that. But that requires you, and Ruben talks about this on this on Sunday Night Baseball in this interview, and he said, my job is wearing a lot of different hats.
Yeah.
I am a coach, so I have to be, I have to understand data. I have to understand the analytics. I have to understand platoons. I have to understand all these in-game strategy stuff, right? But I'm also a friend. These guys are leaving their wives, their kids at times. I have to be a good friend. A mentor. You're going to have rookies that come up. They're 19, 20, 21 years old. They've never been there. They don't know what it's like to have 40,000 people there and have, let's just say they get brought up on a $2 million deal. They don't even know what to do with that amount of money, right? So they're a friend, a coach, a mentor. Sometimes it's a, what do you call it when somebody needs translation? What is it? They're a translator. They're an interpreter. It's like sometimes guys come up from the Dominican. Obviously, we have a very large Latin population in baseball. Sometimes those guys come up and let's just say going to San Diego. Obviously, we speak English here. They don't know English sometimes. So he needs to help them understand language sometimes. So I think it's just super important to if you can start it off with that, when you come to Driveline, when you go train with the coach, when you go to that team, you're not just a number. You're not just some guy. You mean something to that coach. You mean something to that team. And when you can build that, starting with the culture of that you matter as a person first, I think it just speaks volumes of when people come back of I don't give a shit how that person performed. I know that guy's going to have my back because he cares about me as a person.
For sure.
Is infinitely more important to me. And that person, I love that more than trust me, I believe all the results in games as well. But I ultimately care more that I'm not, my Uncle Tim did this as a basketball coach, was my job is not to make you, yes, my job is partially to make you a better basketball player. My job is to prepare you to be better young men.
Yep.
That is a really powerful statement. I think it's John Wooden. He stole it from John Wooden.
Yeah.
He's a phenomenal coach. It's just prepare yourself to be a better man, be a better person, be a good teammate. I'm sure you've had this of you probably stay in touch with a couple old homies, right? Way back in the day. Were they always the most reliable, the 3-hole hitter that was the coolest dude, most popular? Probably not, right? But they probably were really cool to you and you bonded over something and were good friends and they cared about you. So yeah, man, if you're listening to this, Ernesto, that's you, man. You always were the guy that got me through college that without you, I don't know if I'd have even played pro ball. So if you're listening, Ernesto, you're the man. I love you, dude. I haven't talked to you in a long time, but shout out to you. You helped me so much more than you can even imagine. Yeah. So, damn, that kind of covers everything for me, man. That's my topics. Yeah. Is there anything else that you kind of want to dive into or anything else that you wanted to bring up?
I mean, I just kind of want to revisit to that last piece you were talking about. Just having someone to talk to is really important. And that's something that I've really benefited from having you guys around me here. That I'm really thankful for is obviously, I think everyone here that works in the pitching department has learned I'm a big overthinker. It's sure. I'll think about a lot, way too much, and things that are just not important. And we talk a ton about stuff, and you're always there for me, and sometimes tell me I need to stop thinking I'm an idiot.
Sometimes,
but also same thing with Anthony and Dylan. There will be times where I'm dude, I don't know what I'm thinking. There's so much going on. This company's not easy to
navigate.
Feel like you're doing a lot in because there's so many dogs here that are just putting in so much work and being so really impactful. So sometimes it's hard to feel that. And I'll talk to Anthony about it all the time, and same with Dylan. And I'm dude, I don't know. I just feel weird, stuff's going on. And they're dude, shut up. You're fine. It's gonna be okay. Stop thinking about it. You're doing great. And that's just something I'm eternally grateful for. And just being able to learn from you guys. So I really appreciate the time and just accepting me as part of almost the clan and the group, and just being able to learn from you guys. It just feels like a big family.
Would you even say the Clash of Clans?
Yes, I would say the Driveline Clash.
The Driveline Clash of Clans group is hilarious. Yes. So yeah, man. I think that's one of my favorite things is just being able to impact not just baseball players, but people, being around good people, pushing each other to be better people on and off the field. Obviously one of the most rewarding and just biggest things that I love hearing back is just man, I might not have made it to the big leagues, but fuck that I really enjoy working with you and just the person that you are. So absolutely. Go be a good friend, go be a good teammate, do all those little things, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Yeah, man, I'm good. This is about it. All right. thank you for watching. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for always, following along. If you made it through 55 minutes of us kind of ranting back and forth, we always appreciate it. If you do have anything, and this goes up on YouTube, Instagram, if there's any clips, if there's anything out there that you guys want us to dive into, please comment below, like the video, subscribe to the channel, make sure you put on notifications, all that good stuff.
And be sure to follow both of us on social media.
Sure.
Grayson Liebhardt on X, Daulton Berry.
You can find us.
Yes.
Yeah, you've been killing content. So I can't lie. If you want to learn, if you're a dude that wants to learn and get like impactful information that's easily digestible, I'll put my right hand up. I'm not really the best at that sometimes. This guy is, I trolled him in the beginning, the king of content. He posts out really, really great stuff. He's always really, really, you interact with a lot of people too. Yeah. You comment back, you DM back. God bless.
Sometimes
you're so good at that stuff. You're so good at it.
Sometimes to a fault.
So we appreciate it, and I know that if you reach out to us, we'll always try and get to your questions and make sure that we can give a really thoughtful response. So thank you guys, and we'll see you guys next time on the next episode of the Desert Shift. Peace.
Adios.
Thank you, dude.